Republican leaders of the Congress and the Democratic president. Mr. Clinton told us today it's because we live in uncertain times that the politics of personal destruction have worked. And while everyone here tries to figure out whether the greater political power will now be at this end of Pennsylvania Avenue or the White House end, the powers that are got together today to feel each other out. At the White House, here's ABC's Britt Hume.
The president was flanked left and right by the new Republican leaders of Congress. Everybody did all they could at this first meeting of the year to stress areas of possible agreement. There are some.
Congressional reform, the line item veto. I hope we can do something on lobbying reform and on campaign finance reform. I believe that there are areas we can work together on welfare reform, on health care reform. We can do a lot of things.
Outside, that view was seconded by Speaker Gingrich, who insisted, despite past differences, there is a new spirit here.
I thought it was a very, very positive meeting overall, and a very real willingness to try to find a way to work together.
Reporters, though, have heard this sort of thing before, and they wanted to know about areas of disagreement, which did not please the Speaker.
If the leaders of the United States can get together in a positive way, it would be nice for the National Press Corps to report accurately that it was a positive meeting and not to rush off and immediately try to find some way to get a catfight started.
Well, he was asked, how long will this new atmosphere last?
It'll last longer than your deadlines. And it will last longer than the culture of the news media in this city will like. But I would just suggest to you that it would be very helpful for you to try for a little while to focus on the positive.
The Speaker is not the only one struggling to deal with this city's skeptical news media. The president this afternoon introduced his new press secretary, veteran Democratic spokesman Mike McCurry. Mr. Clinton, it seemed clear today, believes his political troubles stem not from what he has done, but from the way it's been presented. He said as much in explaining his attitude toward the new Congress.
Yes, the country can be better off if we work together than if we don't. But that should be taken in no way as a diminishing in my eyes of what happened in the last 2 years, which was terrific.
The president might have trouble selling that idea, but no more trouble than Speaker Gingrich had with those pesky reporters. They insisted, despite his earlier lecture, on asking him again today about what his mother said he said about the First Lady.
What about what you called Mrs. Clinton?
You have no idea what I called Mrs. Clinton because I have never commented on any of those things, and I won't.
Was your mother a liar?
Part of what's happening here is that the new Speaker has been getting the kind of media scrutiny and attention usually reserved for presidents. No president has ever liked it, and the Speaker clearly doesn't either. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
This is John Cochran on Capitol Hill, where in the wee hours of this morning, Newt Gingrich finally ended the first session of the new House.
The House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. today.
The 14-hour session left Republicans exhausted but also elated that they kept their promise to pass changes in the way the House does business. Later, Gingrich was back with more changes, putting public records of the House into a worldwide computer system for fast access by anyone who wants it. Gingrich, who's learning about life as a media star, was also the lead-off witness when the important Ways and Means Committee started tackling the promises in the Republican Contract with America. Gingrich urged them to go beyond the contract, to think big. How about computers for poor people?
And I'll give you a nutty idea that I'm just tossing it out because I want to start by getting you to think beyond the norm. Maybe we need a tax credit for the poorest Americans to buy a laptop.
Republicans fell all over themselves, praising Gingrich for his endless supply of ideas.
Early in his career, Gingrich's staff kidded him about all those ideas by labeling 3 big boxes with the tag Newt's Ideas, but they labeled only 1 box with the tag Newt's Good Ideas.
Today, Gingrich gave President Clinton credit for some good ideas, including tax credits for parents with kids in college.
I don't think we should reject out of hand an idea just because it comes from the president.
Another Democrat, Senator Tom Harkin, thought he had a good idea, too, to eliminate lengthy filibusters. But senators are proud that they move more slowly than those radical upstarts in the House. The Senate voted to keep the filibuster. John Cochran, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Thank you, John. Back to the White House now. Ever since his party got so badly beaten up in the midterm elections, the president has spent a lot of time reflecting on what went wrong and where he should go from here. We talked with him this afternoon in the Oval Office. I'd like to start, if I may, with what I think you may think is a puzzlement. You've reduced the deficit. You've created jobs. Haiti hasn't been an enormous problem. You've got a crime bill with your assault weapon ban in it. You got NAFTA, you got GATT, and 50% of the people don't want you to run again. Where's the disconnect there?
A lot of it is I think people don't know what we've done. You know, on election day, I was bewildered when I saw that 23% of the people only felt that the deficit had gone down. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that. First of all, people feel really less secure because of their job situation, the fact they might lose their health care. Many of our fellow citizens are worried about crime, and they're disoriented. And they tend to get their information in a very negative and combative context. So one of the things I think is that I hadn't done a very good job of telling them what we've done and how it relates to their deepest concerns.
Here's another one. In our poll today, the absolute critical items for Congress to address: number one, cutting the deficit; number two, health care reform. The two issues which were absolute priorities for 2 years, and you don't get any credit for it.
There is no support for those who really fight the change battle. 500 years ago, Machiavelli said that there's nothing so difficult in all of human affairs than to change the established order of things, because the people who are against the change will fight you like crazy. The people who want you to change are uncertain, and it is easy to sow doubt in their minds. That's what's happened to us. I knew that if I really took on these problems, and I had dedicated, disciplined, well-organized, indeed fanatic opposition, that there could be enough stirring up in the atmosphere that it would be impossible to win re-election. I also knew that if I did less and managed the politics of the office more, that I could probably more easily get re-elected. And I made a clear decision in my own mind that my obligation to the United States, to the children of this country, and to the future required us to fight for as much change as we could.
Did you really mean to say fanatic opposition?
Some of the opposition has been fanatic. Well, how else could you characterize it?
It's much more important how you characterize it and how you feel about it.
Not all of it, but some of it has been, I think, quite intense, wouldn't you say? We live in a time when people are frustrated and angry and uncertain, and the politics of personal destruction has great currency. The voters hate it, but it works. We need to stop looking at our neighbors as our enemies, stop debasing our institutions and our leaders, roll up our sleeves, and go to work. If they will help me do that, then we'll do right well in the next 2 years.
That sounds precisely, Mr. President, like what Mr. Gingrich said outside the White House today. So you and he have that in common.
Well, and if it happens, the country will be better off. I'm looking forward to it. You know, they say they want to reduce the burden of government. Well, our administration has reduced government to its smallest size since President Kennedy was here. They say they want to reduce the deficit. Well, that's a terrific advance. In our meeting today, for the first time, they really said that a mistake was made in 1981 when they put in trickle-down economics and ignored the deficit and quadrupled the debt of this country. I was impressed with that. They essentially said we were doing the right thing to bring the deficit down, and they would not try to reverse that by giving everybody a tax cut that couldn't be paid for. And I respect that. That's good. So maybe we've got a real basis for constructive working together, but we're going to have to try to build one another up and build this country up and get out of this incessant, compulsive, destructive desire to tear down. America was built by builders, not by terrors.
Our conversation was longer than that. Tomorrow, the President on Mr. Gingrich as a thinker, and on Boris Yeltsin, what he's doing in Chechnya. In a moment, some of today's other news. The accused killer of 2 abortion clinic workers makes his first public statement since the shootings. The American pilot shot down over North Korea tells his story. And what really happens to those tax dollars that you send to Washington.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by the makers of Robitussin Cough Drops.
Finally, I was soloist instead of my big sister, Patty. What a time for a cough. Then Patty rescued me with Robitussin cough drops. My doctors always said Robitussin knows coughs. Well, they sure work fast. Soothes my throat, and I could feel those vapors. Thanks to Robitussin, I sang so great.
The water is wide.
I made my sister proud.
Robitussin cough drops from the cough experts. And introducing Robitussin sugar-free cough drops.
Hey, it's the new year. Weren't you going to eat better? You promised. Well, Total can help. It has 100% of 11 vitamins and minerals. And right now, we'll send you 5 free samples when you call 1-800-95-TOTAL. We'll take care of the first 5 days. The rest is up to you.
It's the creamiest Velveeta shells and cheese.
Only one can be the creamiest, because only one is made with real Velveeta cheese sauce. Some lookalikes are made with oil. So if you want the creamiest, there's still only one.
Velveeta shells and cheese.
In a suburb of Cleveland today, a funeral for Leanne Nichols, one of the 2 women shot to death last week at an abortion clinic in Massachusetts. The man accused of those shootings, John Salvi, has been held in Virginia, charged with firing shots into a Norfolk clinic the very next day. Today, a federal judge sent him back to Massachusetts. Here's ABC's Lisa Stark.
U.S. Marshals took Salvi into federal custody after the state of Virginia agreed to postpone its case, and Salvi agreed to be returned to Massachusetts. There he faces state and federal charges stemming from the shootings at 2 Boston area clinics. 2 people died, 5 were wounded. Through his attorney, Salvi released a 6-page handwritten statement in which he said, "If convicted of the charges, I wish to receive the death penalty." Massachusetts has no death penalty, but Salvi could be charged under a provision of the new federal crime law that carries a death sentence. Salvi, a former altar boy, also wrote, "If I am not proven guilty, I will become a Catholic priest." The Salvi case has increased pressure on the Justice Department to protect abortion clinics. The department has ordered U.S. Marshals to review security procedures at every clinic and to provide clinics with detailed forms to report threats of violence. A task force is looking at other options.
There are a range of possibilities. Criminal actions are one. Sending marshals out to physically guard clinics is another.
But the Justice Department itself estimates that it would cost $1 billion a year to send U.S. Marshals to protect every abortion clinic. And even that might not be enough to stop someone determined to use violence. Lisa Stark, ABC News, Norfolk, Virginia.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials lost more than 6 points to close at 3850. The trading was heavy. On the NASDAQ exchange, stocks lost a fraction of a point. One sports item: by this Saturday, we should know whether any National Hockey League games will be played this season. The players have made another proposal to settle the league's labor dispute, and the owners say they will vote on the offer this Saturday. If there is agreement, a shortened season will begin on the 16th of January. If not, the season most likely will be canceled. In a moment, an American pilot's story of being shot down over North Korea.
I'll never go back to denture pastes or powders again.
Here's why. C-Bond denture adhesive. No other adhesive works like C-Bond, and it holds dentures so tight, so long. C-Bond combines 2 powerful adhesives into a soft, micro-thin seal that bonds your dentures to your gums, can hold them comfortably all day long.
I'll never go back to pastes or powders.
There's no messy cleanup. C-Bond is so easy to remove. Nothing holds dentures like C-Bond.
You'll never go back to pastes or powders again.
To folks in Glastonbury, Connecticut, Cat's Ace Hardware is the place to get just what you need. And at your local Ace, you'll find 95 ways to save. Great values to start your year off right. That's Ace, the place for the helpful hardware folks.
1-800-COMPARE. No matter what the other long-distance companies do, it just won't go away. It gives your business the facts and guaranteed competitive prices. Only from AT&T for the life of your business.
Introducing Ford Contour. Goal, a world car for the 21st century. Result, world-class technology in 2 all-new engines, including a 24-valve V6 that runs 100,000 miles between recommended tune-ups. Outstanding safety features, from dual airbags to a steel safety shell, even a filtration system that removes virtually all dust and pollen from the air. The totally new Ford Contour, well-equipped for just $14,655.
I'm about to perform an amazing act. Something that was virtually impossible for me to do just a short while ago. The act of breathing, made possible by Tavis D.
Original prescription strength Tavis D contains the medicine proven to help relieve tough congestion so you can breathe easier. So for the next 12 hours,
I will not sneeze. My sinus and nasal congestion is now clear.
breathe easier with Tavis D.
There's nothing else like it.
Coming tonight from ABC News, Day One. Great stories, well told, with Forrest Sawyer and Diane Sawyer. Tonight, criminal drug addicts are coming to rehab centers in a neighborhood near you. And guess who's in charge? Criminals. Plus Oprah. If you think you know her, you're wrong. Day One returns tonight at 10, 9 Central.
The American pilot who was held captive in North Korea for nearly 2 weeks is now telling his story in public. Here's ABC's John McQueffey.
Though Bobby Hall still does not know how he strayed into North Korean territory, he said today for the first time that he and his co-pilot, Dave Heilemann, realized that they were off course just before they were hit. The helicopter's windshield caved in and they lost power.
And on the way down, Dave turned to me and said, Bobby, I've been hit. And I looked at him, and from the expression on his face, I could tell he had been hit, but I didn't know how extensive. And the only thing I could ask him was, are you okay? And he never replied.
Pentagon sources say a piece of shrapnel passed through Heilemann's heart and throat, and he may have been dead before the helicopter crashed. His body was thrown from the cockpit. North Korean soldiers surrounded the site almost immediately, but instead of opening fire, there was a different reaction.
When they first got down there, I motioned towards Dave and the fire at the aircraft, and one of the soldiers did come down and help me pull Dave further away from the aircraft.
Hall said he was treated surprisingly well, was given a TV, but only allowed to watch heroic North Korean movies. He was always worried.
I was scared all the time, yes. I felt that at any minute they may come in, and that would be all it was for me.
Though everyone welcomed Hall's release within the U.S. military, he is not considered a hero. He accidentally flew across enemy lines. He created a major international incident, and his co-pilot is dead. Military officials say it is unlikely Hall will be punished. Instead, investigators are looking at how he was assigned as the senior pilot that day when he had less than 10 hours of flying time along the border. John McQueffey, ABC News, the Pentagon.
Overseas today in the Russian region of Chechnya, which is still fighting for its independence, no let-up in Chechen determination. Chechen fighters today protecting the road into their capital. Russian soldiers have still failed to occupy Grozny, and these are some of the men who were captured trying. When we come back, your tax dollars coming and going. One county story.
I can't fall asleep.
I can't stay asleep. Try new formula Maximum Strength Nitol to fall asleep fast and get a full night's sleep. New formula Maximum Strength Nitol.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Mashed potatoes and gravy, Santa cookies, Aunt Wilma's bundt cake.
The average American can gain 4 to 7 pounds during the holidays. You could be one of them. So include the Kellogg's Special K breakfast in your New Year's diet and get the scale moving in the right direction.
Fruitcake,
Kellogg's Special K. Lose the holiday fat.
And now from fitness expert Covert Bailey, Smart Exercise, a video specially priced with Kellogg's Special K.
Look, it's a gold card. Sure, no card on the planet is more useful, but it can't grant you inner peace. Well, I don't know. I mean, you could use it to go someplace where your only action would be one of non-action, which is pretty peaceful. And if you let Master Guest arrange your vacation, you'd save 20 to 40%, plus another $100 if you book by April 30th. And saving money might be the path of true wisdom. So I guess Gold MasterCard could help you see the light. Just remember to wear your sunscreen. Gold MasterCard, it's more than a gold card, it's smart money. Look for your Gold MasterCard application and apply.
You know, a Carnival cruise is the best vacation value going. You can enjoy fun days at sea, fun-filled nights, fabulous food.
Oh, boy, you can say that again.
Great Scott, Willard, what are you doing out here?
Kathy, I'm having the time of my life.
Take a 3-, 4-, or 7-day vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Boy, I can't wait until the midnight buffet.
You think you'll have any room left?
What are you, a comic?
Fibercon or Metamucil. Both give you the same predictable regularity, the same natural action of fiber. So what makes Fibercon different? With Fibercon, I get my fiber in 2 caplets. Fibercon, fiber regularity that's easier to take.
As we mentioned, we have a new ABC News Washington Post poll tonight, and it also looks at what priorities Americans have for those lawmakers across the street. 55% of those we asked say that cutting the federal deficit should be Congress's most critical concern, with health care reform and a balanced federal budget close behind. But support for a balanced budget drops dramatically when you start adding conditions, namely cutting popular programs. One of the most persistent criticisms of government during the last election campaign, which proved very effective for those politicians who argued it, was that government had become much too expensive, besides which there was too much government in our lives. We thought it might be educational to see what that really meant to people on a daily basis. ABC's Aaron Brown could have gone almost anywhere in the country to test these notions. He went to Knoxville, Tennessee.
Knox County, Tennessee, population 335,000. In November, it voted Republican 2-1. Then and now, it likes the message of smaller government.
Less bureaucracy, less control of every asset of life.
We're sending a message, you've forgotten that it's our money that you're spending.
And it's a lot of money. The residents of Knox County paid almost $1.5 billion in federal taxes in 1993. Personal and corporate income taxes, Social Security, estate, gift, and excise taxes included.
People are tired of paying taxes and not getting anything in return.
That's a pretty common complaint around here, a pretty common view. It is also dead wrong. In fact, Knox County gets back much more from the federal government than its residents pay in, nearly twice as much.
They pay in $1.5 billion, and the federal government sends Knox County back almost $3 billion. That $3 billion comes back in hundreds of places, in hundreds of ways, most of which people never think about.
Welfare should be cut out. Put them people to work.
They know that welfare, food stamps, and medical care for the poor takes a chunk, about $204 million. Nearly 58,000 people get some piece of that. But that is nothing compared to the $655 million for Social Security and Medicare. Nearly half of what Knox County pays in taxes is paid out to 60,000 residents, most of whom are older than 65, regardless of their income. And that is seen as untouchable.
Because that's all. We worked for it. That's what it did, you know. I think we should have it.
And that's just the biggest piece of the pie. Here is a smaller piece, a tunnel.
It will make traffic flow better and more smoothly for those people who work day in and day out in our downtown area.
True, but it costs $9 million federal tax dollars to build, part of the $40 million Knox County got for transportation. Money that doesn't just buy cement, it pays wages, which buys food at Ingles Grocery, clothes at Proffitt's department store, and mortgages at the bank, in some cases federally guaranteed mortgages. Outsiders may see the tunnel as pork. Here it has a better name.
People see pork as the other guy's pork and as their valuable projects and as their jobs.
Here's another piece of the pie. Knoxville is home to the University of Tennessee and home to $49 million federal dollars last year. One example, graduate students are working to design a robot to do work humans can't, clean up nuclear waste dumps. Cost, $100,000 a year, no $100,000, no robot.
We really can't do the research, so it basically would shut us down.
100,000 becomes 49 million quickly. 5,000 to promote the opera and musical theater, 64,000 for animal disease research, 852,000 in space program research grants, 2 million for the math department, and more. The university is dependent on federal money.
You would have a massive impact on the budget. You would have lots of offices, lots of programs, lots of institutes that would be either shut down or have to scale back drastically.
Oh, what is that?
And on it goes. 13 million for Knox County's public schools. Handicapped children get teachers. Hungry children get breakfast.
Across the county, in Knox County, we feed close to 9,500 to 10,000 for breakfast.
Knoxville and Knox County government get another $12 million, which, among other things, will put 8 to 10 police officers on Knoxville's streets.
They'll be used in our high crime areas that we're trying to reestablish control of the neighborhoods.
Add up all the entitlements, throw in those teachers and police officers, tack on university research and those highways, and you get roughly $1.3 billion. Then add $1.7 billion to pay for this, the Oak Ridge National Lab, a huge federal complex that provides more than 7,000 people here with steady work.
But even without Oak Ridge, Knox County would break just about even with the federal government, the same amount going out as coming in. So in effect, Knox County gets Oak Ridge for free. It also gets the Army, national parks, federal prisons for free.
When people in Knox County talk of smaller government and less spending, they may mean it. They probably do. But do they want to lose this bus or this highway or this tunnel? Do they want to lose this lab, this cop, this teacher? Do they really want to make that choice at all? Aaron Brown, ABC News, Knoxville, Tennessee.
It's complicated. Back in a moment.
You make me feel so young.
Promise Ultra, the first fat-free margarine, just 5 calories a serving.
You make me feel so young.
Fat-free Promise Ultra. Get heart smart.
I'll probably never forget that night. It was the middle of the night. My stomach was on fire. I was scared. And when I got to the doctor, I thought he'd give me a prescription. You know what my doctor said? My doctor said Mylanta.
For occasional heartburn and acid indigestion, doctors recommend Mylanta most, even over
in the category, but only gets harder. The Congressional Budget Office said today that the budget deficit is getting larger, not smaller. Higher interest rates lower tax revenues. The estimate of next year's deficit has risen from $176 billion to $207 billion. Congress and the President have a lot of work to do. That is our report on World News tonight. Later this evening, Day One returns to the air. It's a new day and a new time with Forrest Sawyer and now Diane Sawyer. We hope you'll join them. And later this evening on Nightline, the House Speaker, Newt Gingrich. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night from Capitol Hill.
Your pockets are filled with cash. Your clothes are covered in blood.
That's Jane. That's my wife.
Now, who can you...
You have no idea what I called Mrs. Clinton because I have never commented on any of those things, and I won't.
Was your mother a liar?
Part of what's happening here is that the new speaker has been getting the kind of media scrutiny and attention usually reserved for presidents. No president has ever liked it, and the speaker clearly doesn't either. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
This is John Cochran on Capitol Hill, where in the wee hours of this morning, Newt Gingrich finally ended the first session of the new House.
The House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. today.
The 14-hour session left Republicans exhausted but also elated that they kept their promise to pass changes in the way the House does business. Later, Gingrich was back with more changes, putting public records of the House into a worldwide computer system for fast access by anyone who wants it. Gingrich, who's learned
to focus on the positive.
The speaker is not the only one struggling to deal with this city's skeptical news media. The president this afternoon introduced his new press secretary, veteran Democratic spokesman Mike McCurry. Mr. Clinton, it seemed clear today, believes his political troubles stem not from what he has done, but from the way it's been presented. He said as much in explaining his attitude toward the new Congress.
Yes, the country can be better off if we work together than if we don't. But that should be taken in no way as a diminishing in my eyes of what happened in the last 2 years, which was terrific.
The president might have trouble selling that idea, but no more trouble than Speaker Gingrich had with those pesky reporters. They insisted, despite his earlier lecture, on asking him again today about what his mother said he said about the First Lady.
What about what you called Mrs. Clinton?
Republican leaders of the Congress and the Democratic President. Mr. Clinton told us today it's because we live in uncertain times that the politics of personal destruction have worked. And while everyone here tries to figure out whether the greater political power will now be at this end of Pennsylvania Avenue or the White House end, the powers that are got together today to feel each other out. At the White House, here's ABC's Britt Hume.
The president was flanked left and right by the new Republican leaders of Congress. Everybody did all they could at this first meeting of the year to stress areas of possible agreement. There are some.
Congressional reform, the line item veto. I hope we can do something on lobbying reform and on campaign finance reform. I believe that there are areas we can work together on welfare reform, on health care reform. we can do a lot of things.
Outside, that view was seconded by Speaker Gingrich, who insisted, despite past differences, there is a new spirit here.
I thought it was a very, very positive meeting overall, and a very real willingness to try to find a way to work together.
Reporters, though, have heard this sort of thing before, and they wanted to know about areas of disagreement, which did not please the Speaker.
If the leaders of the United States can get together in a positive way, it would be nice for the National Press Corps to report accurately that it was a positive meeting and not to rush off and immediately try to find some way to get a catfight started.
Well, he was asked, how long will this new atmosphere last?
It'll last longer than your deadlines. And it will last longer than the culture of the news media in this city will like. But I would just suggest to you that it would be very helpful for you to try for a little while.
Learning about life as a media star was also the lead-off witness when the important Ways and Means Committee started tackling the promises in the Republican Contract with America. Gingrich urged them to go beyond the contract, to think big. How about computers for poor people?
And I'll give you a nutty idea that I'm just tossing it out because I want to start by getting you to think beyond the norm. Maybe we need a tax credit for the poorest Americans to buy a laptop.
Republicans fell all over themselves, praising Gingrich for his endless supply of ideas.
Early in his career, Gingrich's staff kidded him about all those ideas by labeling 3 big boxes with the tag Newt's Ideas, but they labeled only 1 box with the tag Newt's Good Ideas.
Today, Gingrich gave President Clinton credit for some good ideas, including tax credits for parents with kids in college.
I don't think we should reject out of hand